We've joked about it from the very beginning. But what if it was true? Hey everyone, I'm your only mate, and I know it's been a long time since I've actually attempted doing a RWBY What If video, and the reason being is just because I don't know, kind of lost the drive to do any. Like, I had some in mind, but just couldn't really bring myself to do it for some reason, and I'm not really sure as to why, but hey, I've got this one now, so that's something. And it's actually a What If story I've been thinking about for quite some time now, and I've been having a lot of fun with this one, so hey, hopefully that'll come off in this video. And it's a What If that's been inspired by a comparison that RWBY fans have made since the series even began. What if Yang was actually a Saiyan? So in this scenario, I'm going to be exploring the idea that Yang Xiaolong was sent to Remnant from planet Vegeta as a baby, and see just how that would impact the overall story. Alright, in this part, I'm going to be covering a little bit of setup, just like Yang arriving and being integrated into Remnant, and how that will play out through Volume 1. Now, we start this story off with Team Stark, just fresh off a mission together in like a forest at night. Suddenly, Summer sees a shooting star. But Crow points out that that's not what it is. And something crashes into the forest. So the team go to investigate the crash, and once they reach the site, they see a giant crater with a metal sphere with a red-tinted window on it. So they arrive to the conclusion that they've just found an alien spaceship. This pod opens, and the team ready their weapons, because, well, you never know what's going to be in that kind of thing. Once the pod opens, nothing. Just silence. So Tai approaches the ship, slowly, cautiously. He looks inside the pod to find a baby girl with long black hair and a monkey tail. They call this into Ozpin, who contacts General Ironwood. The two of them head over to the site along with some Atlas military. And once they've all talked about the situation, the question arises, what to do with the baby? Tai offers to raise it as his own daughter. And Ozpin believes this to be the best option. See, as we learn in Volume 6, one of Ozpin's plans of doing things is to not share the whole truth with the public so that it doesn't cause a panic and bring more grim and potentially more death. And I feel like it would go along with the idea of Tai raising the baby. So that way you don't have to tell the public, oh, there might be an alien amongst us. That will make people freak out, be anxious, which would bring more grim. And the fact that this baby has a tail means she can be raised as a faunus. And Ozpin knows that Tai will likely raise this baby to be a great person. All the meanwhile, General Ironwood and his military take the pod to Atlas for analysis and some reverse engineering. Oh man, I could actually make Atlas Tech a bit more advanced in this series. So with all of this in motion, there's one question left with the baby. What's Tai gonna name her? And sure enough, he decides to name her Yang. Now, I'm just gonna say this just for simplicity's sake and just make things easier for the viewers to follow. We're just gonna say that this Yang grows up, appearance-wise identical to the Yang that we know and love. Just the addition of black hair and a monkey tail. Just to make it easier for everyone to follow. Not long after taking Yang in, Raven leaves Tai just like she does in the original story. Which means those two didn't conceive a child together, and therefore, technically, the Yang Xiaolong that we all know doesn't exist, because in this story, she's never born. Also, this time, Raven doesn't see Yang as her daughter. I'm curious as to how that could change things later down the road. Well, especially during Volumes 2 and 5, really. Sure enough, after Raven leaves, Tai and Summer begin their relationship, and of course, RWBY is born! So now we've got the family of Tai, Summer, itty bitty baby RWBY, and little Yang with a monkey tail. Oh, and Uncle Crow, of course. Can you imagine the family picture? That'd be so sweet. But Yang being the same doesn't change what happens to Summer. Yeah. Now, of course, I need to address a few things involving Saiyans and how this could impact Yang going forward. How would her personality change? Not by much, I don't think. Because just like in the original story of RWBY, Yang is a thrill seeker and likes a good fight. And that's what Saiyans happen to like too. And given the fact that Yang's being raised by Tai and Summer, like, again, I think it's safe to say personality-wise she would turn out pretty much the same. Just maybe liking fighting just a bit more. Also, not only would Yang like fighting a bit more, I think she would like food a lot more as well. And now I just feel bad for Tai, because how much must it cost to feed her? Or a Saiyan, now that I think about it. I've always wondered that. Oh, and some people might be thinking, oh, but since Yang has the tail, wouldn't she run the risk of turning into a grey ape? Well, I went looking for answers for this, and in an interview, Akira Toriyama specified the reason Goku didn't transform when he took that rabbit guy to the moon was because, well, it was only a partial moon. Like, it has to be a full moon for him to transform. And Remnant's moon is in pieces, which means no Grey Ape Yang. So, that's quite the crisis averted. And the last thing I do have to address is that since Yang's a Saiyan and not native to Remnant, she wouldn't have her aura or her semblance. But she would have two things to make up for that. While she doesn't have aura, she would still have ki, which can like amp up her durability much the same as aura can. And because she's a Saiyan, she can have Zenkai boosts. So as she grows up, she thinks that her ki is her aura, and that the Zenkai boosts are her semblance. So as Yang grows up, she would still train with Tai, and, complementing her Saiyan heritage, I think it's safe to assume that she would actually grow up stronger and a better fighter because of it. Also, let's not forget, she and RWBY grew up together and trained together, so RWBY would also be stronger and maybe further on with hand-to-hand this time around. Oh, this is actually working out pretty well for them, isn't it? That's the basic setup. Yang's more or less the same personality-wise, just a better fighter, bigger appetite, black hair, and a monkey tail. Anyway, on to the story of Volume 1. RWBY gets into Beacon 2 years early, and she goes with Yang. Once we get to Beacon, Yang leaves with her Shadow People friends, and that's the last we ever see of them. It's one of the biggest losses in the series, really. People always get upset about, like, some other characters down the line, but no. Yang's Shadow People friends. Like, they could have been such great characters. We'll never know. So RWBY meets Weiss, and it goes about just the same. RWBY sees an explosion, Blake comes over, deals some truth to Weiss about the Schnee Company that she's not particularly happy about. Weiss storms off, Blake walks off, RWBY meets Jean, and pretty much the whole thing just plays out the same. Next we come to the night before everyone's initiations, and when RWBY and Yang walk over to Blake. It goes just about the same. Yang and Blake's eyes meet, and then they start to kiss. Wait, hang on a sec. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I'm getting mixed up. That's just a wonderful dream I had. They talk, and of course, it goes a little awkward at first. But when Yang says she's RWBY's older sister, this gets Blake a little curious, because she's just met a Faunus and a human that are related. And I don't know if that's even a thing in Remnant that we've seen so far. And the rest of the scene plays out as you'd expect. They talk about books, RWBY and Yang get in their dust cloud fight thing, which was really funny. Weiss comes over all mad and Blake blows out the candles. Now we get to the initiation. The students all land in the Emerald Forest, form the same pairs that we remember, and take all the same relics too. But there is a small detail that I want to touch on that's from the From Shadows anthology manga. See, in the Emerald Forest, Blake wanted to pair up specifically with Yang because she approached Blake so positively and just treated her like any regular person. Also, I imagine this time around, because Yang has the tail, that Blake might actually feel a little bit more comfortable around her. So, yeah, that's just a little detail from the manga that I wanted to touch on. Really, the only thing that changes in the forest is that RWBY and Yang have an easier time in fights. And the whole thing wraps up with them doing that awesome teamwork. So teams RWBY, Juniper, and Cardinal all form as they do in the original story. And we have, as it's known, the Jean arc. I'm still calling it that. Honestly, not a whole lot changes here. Although when Cardin's picking on Velvet, you Cardin, Yang's actually a bit more pissed off, like just like Blake is when Pura says she can't stand people like Cardin. Because, remember, Yang's a faunus this time. Well, as far as she knows. And there is another little detail I want to touch on, and just a funny scene I thought this could be. Since Yang is a Saiyan, she would have an appetite similar to Goku in Dragon Ball. And I just picture them in the beacon vessel, and Yang's just eating so much food, like really, really fast. Weiss, Blake, and everyone, basically except RWBY, are just weirded out by this. And if anyone's wondering, why wouldn't RWBY be freaked out? Well, because she grew up with Yang, she's used to it. And there's a thing in the Mirror Mirror manga where Weiss is telling the rest of the team how to eat properly. So I imagine she'd be pretty disgusted with the way Yang eats. That would actually be pretty funny, I think about it. We come to the 2 last chapters of Volume 1. Team RWBY go to the docks so that Weiss can spy on the competition for the upcoming Vital Festival tournament, and they come across a broken-in dust shop. They hear officers Bernie and Joel discuss, hey, you thinking it's the White Fang? Which leads Weiss to insulting the White Fang and faunus as a whole, which offends Blake, due to her secretly being a faunus at this point, but also offends Yang. And sure enough, we hear someone yell, hey, stop that faunus! And here comes Sun. As he runs from the police and right past Team RWBY, we do still get his wink. Only this time, he winks at both Blake and Yang. See, when Sun was introduced, he was initially attracted to Blake because, well, she's another faunus, like him. But, with Yang having that tail, he might also get an attraction for her this time around. The team give chase to Sun, and Weiss bumps into Penny. Once RWBY says, sure, I'll be your friend, why not? And introductions are out of the way, Weiss asks Penny about Sun, and calling him a filthy faunus riffraff. Which of course causes Weiss and Blake's argument, as you'd expect. However, this time, Yang is also pissed at Weiss. She's not just standing there awkwardly oh boy. No, this time, yeah, she's mad at Weiss, and right there with Blake. So the 3 of them are in this heated argument, and RWBY, poor RWBY, just doesn't know what to do. She's watching her teammates, one of whom is her sister, and her partner, who is her BFF, just arguing like this. The argument escalates even further. Weiss says, oh, would you like me to stop referring to a trash can as a trash can? And Yang shoves Weiss. Now this argument has gotten to the possibility of physical violence. RWBY steps in, enough is enough. So she proposes that everyone, takes a break from each other, cools off, and then may reconvene at another time. But she doesn't want anyone to be alone, and she can't leave Weiss alone with either Blake or Yang. So, RWBY and Weiss go back to Beacon, while Blake and Yang go off somewhere. Blake and Yang are actually good with this idea, as long as it means they don't have to spend another second with Weiss. Damn. So as the 2 pairs go off, Weiss is telling RWBY about her childhood and why she doesn't like faunus all that much. Blake and Yang go off somewhere to calm down, but Yang is still pissed off. Blake tries to talk to Yang, get her to calm down, but Yang just snaps at her saying, Blake, you just can't understand how I feel right now. So Blake responds to this by telling Yang, actually, I do understand. So Blake takes her bow off and reveals that she's also a faunus. And right there, Yang's feeling really guilty about snapping at her, goes to apologize. But then we hear a voice say, I knew you'd look better without the bow, which shocks Yang. She turns around, fires a shot, and knocks Sun off. Well, whatever it is he's standing on, really. Sun gets up and yells at Yang for firing a shot at him, while Yang is yelling at Sun for just walking up to them just out of nowhere in the middle of an emotional conversation. All the while, Blake's just like, is this really happening? So, basically, Blake's just watching the shippers right now. So, Blake puts a stop to their argument and tells them both that she was a member of the White Fang, her history with them, why she left, and all that stuff. The next day, Blake tells us we need to figure out who's behind these dust robberies. And Sun has his idea, let's go to where they would likely go to do it, and not find them there. Which just so happens to be a huge dust shipment that he heard about on the boat. All the meanwhile, RWBY and Weiss go to search for their still missing teammates. And they find Penny. The two say that they're looking for Blake and Yang, who are still missing, and Penny says, "Oh, you mean the fauna skulls?" RWBY reacts positively because, yes, that's who they're looking for, but then questions, wait, what? Because they know Yang is a faunus, but they still don't know about Blake. Penny points out the cat is, and they realize, oh, that's why she wears a bow. And RWBY still has her.
She does like tuna a lot.
That evening, Blake and Yang are waiting at the docks and Sun arrives with that food that he stole. An airship arrives and it turns out it was the White Fang all along. But they're also taking orders from Roman Torchwick. Blake knows they would never take orders from a human like him, so she runs ahead to get some answers, and it goes about the same as you remember in the original. After Blake evades some of Roman's attacks, Sun and Yang jump into the fray, saying leave her alone. The two fight off the White Fang, and then joined by Blake, all attack Roman together. Although that still goes the same as you remember, Roman's able to shoot the cable holding up a big crater which separates Blake and Yang from Sun. Roman goes to shoot Sun in the face, but we hear RWBY yell, "Hey!" They look to the roof and there's RWBY, Weiss, and Penny all together. But Roman still shoots RWBY when she tells Penny to get back. Weiss makes sure that RWBY is okay, and Penny is combat ready. So I think you know how this is going to play out. It's about the same. The team reunites, and Volume 1 practically ends a really similar way to it does like in the original story. The team make peace, and Weiss still isn't sure how she feels about Sun. And that's Volume 1! Yang grew up as a faunus, she and RWBY are stronger and better fighters in this story, and that could even help Weiss and Blake down the line too. I might talk about that in the next part. Also, with Yang being a faunus this time around, at least as far as she knows, this could actually lead to her and Sun being closer, and, you know, having more of a friendship than we see in the original story. Now before I end this video, I actually have a question for you, the viewers. And that is, what could Yang's original Saiyan name be? See, I want to get viewers like involved in this, like to some extent, just with like little fun details and some other creative stuff, and I feel like this could actually be a good one. So if you have any suggestions for Yang's Saiyan name, in the next part, I'll look in the comments and find out which one I like the most and give the commenter a shout out, or commenters if people say the same name. Also remember, when it comes to Saiyan names, they do have to be named after vegetables, or at least a play on a vegetable, so try and keep that in mind. And also, once you list a name, list what vegetable it's a play off of, and any other details that you think would make this a good name. So, what do you think? How could this impact RWBY? Could Yang possibly find out what she really is? Will she become a Super Saiyan at some point? Who knows? But I do think there could be some fun stuff to this, and I look forward to going into that with everyone. So, with how really appropriate it would be this time around, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, and here is my Goku outro. Bye.
Hey guys, Goku here. You're watching Your Only Mate, and Your Only Mate is only good for the fact that at least he won't eat as much of your food. Catch you later!